ladies and gentlemen, how are you all doing today? As you all know, the Freedom of Information Act is essential for a more democratic country. Interested to know more? Then you're in luck today because we have a special guest that will be introducing to us what the Freedom of Information Act is. So, without further ado, introducing Rachel Leong.
Hi, I'm Rachel Leong. It's true that these days, people get information through platforms like social media, daily news broadcasts, and also through mere old school ways, newspaper articles. These sources would originate from actual press conferences and press releases that provide reliable information to the general public. The Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960 states that council meetings must be open to the press and also to the public, including the agenda and minutes of the council meetings. This is supported by the Local Government Transparency Order 2015, where it states that these documents should be regularly released to the public. If possible, this information must also be published electronically. In addition to that, the Local Government Act 1972 states that council committees and their subcommittees must also release their meeting minutes and be open to press and the public. How then do people get information if the government refuses to disclose any information on issues that, by law, should be disclosed to the public? We can see that in Malaysia, there are journalists that will dig deep and investigate on matters like this. Take Sarawak Report, for example. It is an online investigative news website, and recently, they have uncovered one of the biggest corruption scandals to involve a head government. The general public would not have known of news like this if not for the journalists behind these writings. So what is the Freedom of Information Act and what does it do? UN General Assembly Resolution in 1946 says that freedom of information is a fundamental human right. In the United Kingdom, the Freedom of Information Act 2000 came into effect in January 2005. The Act's importance in the fact that it provides information upon request by members of the public. It allowed both citizens and commentators to become much more informed on the deliberations which preceded decisions affecting them. Before the Freedom of Information Act, the work of the administration was carried out behind closed doors in accordance with legislations such as the Official Secrets Act 1911. The Act also has been instrumental in bringing issues of vital public concern into the public domain and has facilitated stronger oversight of the actions of government and the public service. To get access to information, first you must make an inquiry in writing to the relevant agency. Under the Act, any person is able to make a request from a public authority. The agencies, however, can charge a cost for disbursements and it will generally take around 20 working days for information to be released to you. However, when the Freedom of Information Bill was introduced into Parliament, it became less liberal due to the exemptions present, as it replaced the original text that justified the refusals to access of information from the public interest and prejudice test to the substantial harm test. These exemptions, as stated in Section 2 of the Act, can be classified into class-based and prejudice-based. Some examples of the exemptions are information supplied by or relating to the bodies dealing with security matters, court records, some personal information, and information provided in confidence. Section 2 of the Freedom of Information Act 2000 says that there is a duty on the part of the body holding the information to disclose it unless satisfied that the public interest in maintaining the executive motion outweighs the public interest in disclosure. Thus, there is a burden on the public authority to justify non-disclosure of any information. However, information that is known to the public officials but not recorded need not be disclosed. Moreover, it also obligates certain public authorities to draw up publication schemes for the automatic and routine publication of information. These schemes are a guide which classifies data systematically so that the public will know better how to request for such information. Hence, with the publication of these schemes, it is hoped that it eventually lead to public authorities disclosing information automatically instead of waiting for them to disclose it. Thank you.
Now that we know for sure what the Freedom of Information Act is, the next guest shall introduce what are the reasons as to why we need an FOI Act. Introducing Jazmine Poh!
My name is Jazmine Poh, and today we'll be talking about the reasons on why FOI Act is important. The FOI Act is mainly significant because it promotes the principles of democracy and constitutionalism. The enactment of Freedom of Information Act, also known as the FOIA, at federal and state levels reinforces our democratic institutions. In a healthy democracy, there will be fixed terms for elected office bearers and neutral mechanisms that ensure accountability and, most importantly, free and fair elections. This aspect is especially important in Malaysia because press and broadcasting stations currently are owned or partially owned by political parties. Therefore, information released by these parties are almost always biased in some way. In order for our countries to stay on the pathway of democracy, it is of utter importance for citizens to be able to directly access information themselves. Citizens need to have access to this information to be educated before exercising the right to vote. But in order for them to do that, they have to first have the knowledge about it, and this could be done through the enactment of FOIA. With the existence of the FOIA, citizenry who participates in discussion can be well informed to make mature judgments, contributions, decisions, especially one that could bring upon a prodigious impact towards the country's future. Besides that, like any other successful governance, there is no doubt that a well-informed citizen is as equally significant as having an active participation by the citizens to safeguard the transparency of the governance, regardless of their age, race, gender, and religion. For instances, the participation by citizens can be in the form of debates, rallies, and/or awareness campaigns and programs if they would like to make a difference to the current governance system. However, how are the citizens going to know about all these ongoing activities if they aren't being informed or not allowed to know? Therefore, in this case, the FOIA needs to be enacted to be able to play its role on ensuring important information can be obtained by members of the public. In addition to that, the FOIA is a powerful tool for the purposes of ensuring accountability within the government. This is because the FOIA allows journalists to investigate the government and report to the public, convey messages to their audiences in any mass media form favorable, be it by newspaper, television, or radio. Journalists are a very important media that passes down relevant information from the public in governance to citizens, as the information journalists publish are deemed to be reliable. Nevertheless, the enactment of FOIA will bring upon an improvement to the media industry, as the more transparent and accountable the FOIA is, the more people are keen to know, since journalists are able to accumulate a good amount of information that interests the people, especially when the particular information will have an impact towards the decision-making process that might affect the welfare of the people. Moreover, one of the principles of constitutionalism is to limit governance through check and balances. The system of checks and balances is used to keep the government from getting too powerful in one branch. For example, the judiciary branch can declare acts of the executive branch ultra vires, but the legislative branch can override the veto. This is to make sure one of the important elements of constitutionalism, which is the separation of powers of the governments, is being fulfilled. And most importantly, this could be a mechanism to act as a watchdog to make sure the government is accountable in every course of action they have taken and will be doing. The freedom of information is relevant to the enforcement of the separation of powers because it allows important issues to be exposed and thus for the other branches of government to take action. In conclusion, this information should be accessible because it helps not only on the citizens' behalf, but for the benefit of the citizens as well. A government that has nothing to hide should not be afraid of scrutiny by the public. To quote John F. Kennedy, A nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is afraid of its people. Thank you for having me, Nadia, and I'll see you next